Now we're going to talk a little bit about measuring the effectiveness or the performance of your marketing efforts. We visualize the franchise sales process as an ever-narrowing pipeline of prospects that enter the system, enter the sales flow, and work their way down into the sales funnel, basically. We start with 7 different categories of media. That includes PR, print, trade shows, direct mail, internet, and brokers and referrals. And this is illustrated by a diagram that we call the franchise sales pipeline, where leads funnel down from their entry point into the sales system and work their way through the various steps in the sales process, from lead entry to face-to-face meeting to the actual sale. We expect that there will be certain benchmarks that we can measure your sales process against, or the marketing performance. We would expect, that leads are initially received and profiled, that once the leads are qualified, you'd send out information to them, and within 30 to 60 days of that time frame, you should anticipate meeting with about 10 to 15% of those leads. After another 30 to 90 days, you would expect to be closing about 20 to 40% of those that you've met with face-to-face. Now, the important thing to note is that different media categories, internet, print, trade shows, etc., have different typical close rates. So you'll have to measure the sales performance based on media category as well as overall. Ultimately, the goals are to optimize the mix of lead generation sources within the confines of your marketing budget. You want to optimize specific media selected within each category source too. The ultimate measuring tools that we use to see what is working and what is not working are threefold. One is determining your cost per lead. The other is cost per meeting. And the final one is cost per sale. Now, the idea isn't to keep your marketing budget as low as possible. The idea is to optimize these cost per numbers. Just important to make sure that you're getting the right return for your marketing dollars. In the case where you're seeing that your cost per leads are very high, or your cost per meeting, cost per sale are very high, this can mean things like maybe your media mix isn't correct, that you have selected the wrong media to advertise into, that you're targeting the wrong franchisees, or maybe that your message is inappropriate, or the timing is off, the seasonality is playing. If your meeting and cost and sales costs are high, it may be a matter of perhaps your sales force is offering something that's not competitive in the market. On the flip side, if your lead costs are very low, this means that your lead quality is very poor. It can be altered by perhaps changing up your media mix, adding a message that qualifies the prospects right up front. If your cost per meeting or cost per sale are extremely low, this might mean that your sales force is actually selling too aggressively, that you are selling franchises to franchisees that perhaps aren't even fully qualified, and this may put in jeopardy the overall system, the franchise system, by accepting unqualified or undercapitalized franchisees into the system. Ultimately, the goals that we want to see a franchisor achieve have to do, again, with those costs per lead, sale, meeting. We like to see that an overall marketing cost per lead is under $100. With the internet, we like to see that come even lower, given the fact that there is typically a lot more of the leads coming from the internet at a lower quality. We also like to see that a cost per face-to-face meeting or discovery day is typically under $1,500. We like to see that a cost per sale stay under the $10,000 range, ideally even closer to $8,000 or $7,000. We like to see a franchisor convert at least 10% of their leads to face-to-face meetings. We also like to see that we don't want to talk to a large number of unqualified prospects, which is reflected in, again, those lower lead costs and low conversion rates. We like to see that the conversion rate to a face-to-face meeting is less than 60 days. We like to convert then 20% of those face-to-face meetings to actual franchise sales. Overall, we like to see this happen in a period of about 14 weeks, perhaps up to 20, but no more than that. And we like to see that the integrity of the brand of the franchisor is maintained throughout this sales process, that the message isn't diluted or changed based on who's selling the franchise. And again, we like to be able to leverage as much of the existing organization and allow any extra expenditures, whether it's salaries and administrative costs, be kept at a minimum while you're trying to drive leads through the system and money to the bottom line. And finally, we like to see that of all the leads that come in, we'd like to ideally close at least 2% of those.